costs keep rising. The consumer price index up 6.2% last month.
So
compared to a year ago.
Prices keep rising.
Higher than the 5.9% increase that many economists were predicting.
The economists are always wrong, right? Because it's always a psyop. So anyway, inflation's now over 6%. It's probably going to end the year at 8%. We'll see. Obviously, this is by design. It's not a mistake. It's not like, well, we'll see if it's going to be transitory. They're just playing a game. We're at the end game here, guys. The national debt is too big. The government is too big. The tax revenue is too small. The economy is not producing. And we're at end game. And so how do you go bankrupt? A company go bankrupt? I know how this goes. Slowly at first, and then all at once. And that's a Mark Twain quote, but everything's a Mark Twain quote, so who knows? But, you know, we're right there. America's literally going to go through a bankruptcy and what they would call austerity, which basically means, like, there's no more free stuff to give out. And normally, you know, the government doesn't produce anything. The American people are too dumb to know this, and maybe it's not their fault. Maybe all people have always been this dumb. But government doesn't produce anything. It's not like they have a sandwich shop somewhere where they're out there making like BLTs and producing a profit. So, you know, they have something to give away, which is that profit, which most socialists will look at the profit and go, well, that is extra wealth that was taken from the buyers. And it's like, well, not really. It was actually wealth that was created out of nowhere. Somebody took some meat and some bread and, you know, logistically figured it out and paid, you know, some sort of fixed cost, and they assembled it in a way where another guy was able to walk up and give $2 and get a sandwich on his, you know, nightly stroll with his dog down the sidewalk. You know, like, you know, it's pretty nice. You know, for $2, it's like, hey man, would you like to be walking down the sidewalk and have a street vendor right there with a sandwich for you? And you're like, yeah, that's even better than like waiting to get home and like having the wife do it. You know, it's great. Like, but you'll have a certain part of the population will go, well, that 50 cents of profit there was, you know, was theft of some sort. You know, it's just a bad way of looking at how wealth was created. Well, the government doesn't produce anything, so it doesn't have anything to give that it doesn't first steal. And if it gives without first stealing it, then it steals the purchasing power of the currency, which we call inflation. And so,
the Carroll Institute,
you know, you listen,
moments may be common, but they are not normal.
Like, you listen to these type of talk radio show things, which I enjoy just to see what, you know, what they're up to, what these propagandists are up to. And I look at it and I go, this system's not going to last long, because there's literally a 0 to 1 option here. And if you're not familiar with a book called 0 to 1, I'll link to it. It's by Peter Thiel. I read it a few years ago when it first came out. It's really, really good. It really blows your mind on how he thinks about his investments and what he does. And essentially, if something's not 10 times better than what's currently being used, it's not a go for Peter. It's not like a, yeah, let's go on this. So, example being, his former partner, Elon Musk, had a company called Zip2, which is essentially Yellow Pages online in like 1994. That's how he made like his first $1 million. And like it was 10 times better than the Yellow Pages thrown door to door. You don't need the guy on the bike and the paper and the information is stuck in time. Instead, you can update and change information and collect revenue and make it cheaper, and it was 10 times better. And so that's how they kind of, you know, process their information or you know, their decisions. When they created PayPal, he was like, yo, it's 10 times better. Well, if you look, you know, keeping with the finance trend, if you look at something as funny as Dogecoin, or as the haters say, doggycoin, it's 10 times better than the US dollar, but it's actually 2,000 times more rare than the US dollar. Now, I know there's like 10,000 cryptocurrencies. I get that. But looking at the older ones, the ones that have been mined out in a way, oh, well, it's not supply capped. It has an inflation rate. What's the inflation rate? 3.2%? What's the inflation rate of the US dollar? Coming in at 6.2, probably going to end at 8.3. Okay. So it's at least twice as better this year as far as inflation, but it's actually risen in value relative to the dollar, like what, like 1,000x? Okay, numbers are starting to get interesting, right? When a thing like Dogecoin hits $1, and there's literally 130 billion of them and 5 billion new ones every year, so eventually there'll be 200 billion of them, but coins get lost, and the inflation rate relative to the total supply gets lower and lower and lower every single year, you know what happens? People look at that and go, do I want to sell Doge for $1 or do I want to just keep my Doge? And Doge will drop to 69 cents and people, oh, I should have sold it for $1. And then Doge will go to $1.25. Oh, I need Doge. I'm going to sell $1.25 to get one Doge. Now you're selling $1.25 to get one Doge, right? Eventually it's going to get to the spot where Doge is probably going to be like $2. And I ultimately think it's probably like a $10 coin. I mean, certainly a dollar coin in my view, like now, but eventually let's just say it's a $10 coin. So everything works out. You know, like when you look at things in tens, it works. With a dollar, it works. $1, a dime, you know, like, but when it gets to that spot and you're comparing it, which one do you want? You don't need banks, you don't need a credit card processor, you know, you can hold it yourself, you don't need to carry cash, but it's always on you. They can't lock you out of it. Now it's got some problems, it's fully public blockchain. And they could tax it when they get angry about it. Of course they could. And yeah, they could upgrade it into some lightning network layer and cool gets around it. But like the thing is like, it's a piece of code ripped off of a Bitcoin or Litecoin fork basically, and like it works, and it's mined in conjunction with Litecoin. And just those three things, Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Doge, all have one major flaw: they're public blockchains. Huge problem. But you know, man, I would love my government at any level use the public blockchain so I could see what and where and how and what times they're spending on what. It'd be great. So yeah, maybe you know, we move to public money in a way. But then there's taxes associated with it. And what do we know they're going to do when they get angry? They're going to tax. So where does it go? Where does it go long term? It goes to private currencies. That's it. It's like, yo, we make it private, or we move into things that are private. Litecoin's already private. So maybe we transact with Doge on the daily so we can be compliant legal citizens. And when we want to do some savings, we just buy Litecoin because it's a fixed cap. It should always appreciate in value and they're interchangeable. And so maybe for things like trucks, I save my money in Litecoin. Maybe for things like real estate, I save my money in Bitcoin. And maybe for things like coffee, I use Doge because it's fast. Because the fact that it does have a little bit of inflation to it means that the mining is occurring where it's a lightning fast transaction, not like Bitcoin. I know that all these things can be solved on layer 2s and different, I get it. But why would I transact with US dollars when it gets to the spot where Bitcoin is 100,000? Like why am I gonna sell my Bitcoin for 100,000 when there's only 21 million of them at this point? Like why am I gonna do that? And then why am I gonna sell my Doge when it hits $1? Why am I gonna sell Litecoin at $1,000 when there's only 84 million of that? Like why? Because they're 10 times better. Until there's something else, why? I'd rather have those than the dollar that's continuing to inflate with a political elite that's like, and we're gonna print another trillion and another trillion. And like, I'm not seeing any of those trillion, man. Like I haven't seen my first Billy yet. But like, I don't know, like all these other dudes just seem to be getting billions of dollars thrown at them, just thrown at them, thrown. And it's like, yo, I'd like to get like my first 100 grand off you guys, like my 100 grand back. Because I've sure definitely given you that much at least. So I'd like to get it back, at least part of it. But no, they're just printing, and then our currency's inflating. And so the way that you fight this system, the way you fight the man, is not through any sort of violent thing. It's just making their power irrelevant. Like, okay, cool, you guys have a money printer. Does anyone use that money? Okay. What do you want me to tell you? You know, like it's kind of a, I mean, cool, you guys have you get the ability to print unlimited US dollars. I mean, I guess if anyone still uses those.